Hey gamers, what's up? Muzz here at L1 Games with Building a Game Room 2.0 Video 2. This is the second Building a Game Room series. If you look on my main page, you can actually check out the videos for the first Building a Game Room series, which I did at a previous house that I lived in. And that was where I took a small room and turned it into basically a game nook. This is a more elaborate video with bigger shelves, more content, and I thought it was worth shooting everything and showing you guys how I do it all. So maybe if you're building a game room, you can come up with some ideas of your own that suit your needs. So that's what this video is for. And today's video is going to be where I show you how I built my actual shelving units along my walls. The first video showed kind of everything I needed to do leading up to building the game room. I had some other things in the house that needed accomplished before I could do it, and you'll see in the video why once you see that video. And this is the video for the kind of wood I used, the kind of shelves I built, why I made the decisions I made, and all that good stuff. So with no further ado, let's jump right into it. So as with everything I build, the first step was actually a drawing. I wanted to measure everything in the room, every window to wall to corner to ceiling to floor, the outlets, the registers, everything had to be measured perfectly so I knew exactly where I could place shelves and the distance between every corner and say the door or the window that I needed to know. That way I could kind of calculate how many pieces of wood I would need and what lengths those pieces of wood would be. So once I had that drawing done and I knew exactly what I needed, how much I needed, I could kind of calculate what I needed to buy and how much it would cost me. So I sourced all my wood, I got everything ready to go, and then I bought enough wood to build kind of a prototype shelf so I could put one together, put it in the room, see how I liked it. And this is the shelf I went with. I routed out the sides of the shelf every 2.5 inches so I could make adjustable shelving units that would slide into them, and I could then tailor what I needed to fit the kind of games I wanted to put on every shelf. So if I wanted to put, say, PS1 games on one shelf and then, say, Saturn games on the next shelf, I could just adjust the shelves accordingly and everything would fit perfectly. I also wanted these shelves to be floor to ceiling, so I built them with only about 1.5 inch gap between the top of the shelf and the ceiling that I was going to then cover by crown molding. So once the prototype was done, I took it up in the room, I placed it, and it looked great. I loved what I did. I stained it in a black stain that looked contemporary but kind of classic. Once I added that crown molding, they were going to look like they were built in. I was really pleased with what I'd created. But then I had a major problem. I had originally planned all this during COVID lockdown, and I'd come up with all the numbers, I checked all my pricing, I calculated how much of everything I'd need, and after lockdown, a little while later, I built my prototype shelf and it was perfect. So I went back to the store, I was going to start purchasing wood, and I'd realized boards I'd sourced originally at $6.99 a piece were now $14.99 a piece. The price of wood had more than doubled, and it then wasn't cost effective to build the shelving I was going to build. Originally, it was okay, but now the price of my shelving had doubled, and building floor to ceiling shelving all the way around this room just wasn't going to do it. It wasn't cost effective. So I had to come up with a whole new plan all at once to figure out what I was going to do, and I had to do it quickly because at this point I was ready to start building. Now, after making a few new drawings and trying to kind of figure out what I needed to do, I went to Lowe's, I looked around, I checked their different shelving options, I looked online at different shelving options, just trying to figure out something I could do that would be less expensive than building these whole built-in looking, contemporary yet rustic shelving units. It was kind of devastating. I couldn't do my original plan, but I was looking for something that would be contemporary, but kind of have a rustic feel. That's kind of my style. So I came up with an idea. I crunched the numbers. It was going to be cheaper, and here's what it was. This is actually closet shelving. What these consist of are tracks that run level across the top, from which you hang these double slotted standards, and on those you hang brackets to put your shelves on. Normally for these, if you're building a closet or whatever, you'd put wire rack shelving on them. You can buy them, they're made to fit on it. But I thought what I could do was eliminate that and instead make my own actual wood shelving units to put on top of the brackets. This would eliminate about half of the wood I would have to buy. And at the time I was buying all the supplies for this, it was actually cheaper to buy all this metal instead of buying all that wood. And the great thing was, everything I needed for it was right there at the hardware store. So I put some thought into it. When I thought about it more and more, it really seemed like a good idea. Not only in terms of saving the money I needed to save, but down the road, if I ever decide to sell my house, move, whatever, this will be a lot easier to take down and take with me. And if you live in an apartment or if you rent a house or something, same thing. Really, it puts very few marks or holes in the walls. When I move out and I just unscrew these units, I can patch them up with a little bit of spackle and that'll be it. It'll be done. On top of that, it's very sturdy. It holds up strong. It's off the floor, which is actually something I originally wanted but thought I wasn't going to be able to have. So now I don't have anything on the floor all the way around the room. It just turned out that it was a great idea. I wanted something kind of contemporary yet rustic when I made my original design, and I thought, man, maybe if I buy all this wood and I sand it and I stain it and I polyurethane it and I make it look really nice, I can pick a color that gives it kind of a rustic look. But these open shelves hanging on the wall are going to be kind of contemporary at the same time. So I'm now achieving that goal, and I thought this was the way to go. So I went to Lowe's and I bought all this wood. Now, the first thing I had to do was kind of overcome a problem I saw with this type of shelving. The standards that hang down the walls that hold the brackets for the shelves create a problem in that when you push all your games in on shelving like this, it all goes right to the wall, and wherever those standards are, it bumps out. I wanted something flush and flat straight across the shelf without any kind of disruption or disturbance. I wanted it to be visually pleasing, and I wasn't going to accomplish that. So I came up with an idea for running a strip of wood across the back of every shelf that all of the games would bump into, and then they wouldn't press all the way against the wall. And this was good for a couple of reasons. One, it would allow me to later on add some lighting behind the shelf that I wanted to add, which you will see down the road. And it would keep them from touching the wall and over time creating a dust mark on the wall behind them. Again, I'm really meticulous about everything being clean and nice and uniform, so this was the way I was going to achieve that. So I started off by cutting all of my longest strips of wood into 3/4 inch strips, and what you'll see next is how I actually added that strip to the shelf to make that happen. Now, this was going to add a lot of time and effort to building these shelves, but I thought it was going to be well worth it. I even went to the extra lengths of doing it by hand rather than just sticking that piece of wood on the back of every shelf and using my brad nailer and throwing a few nails in. I ran some liquid nail down each one, and then I hand nailed with a hammer every nail in. I wanted kind of that rustic look. I wanted to have the little marks where the hammer hit the wood when I got the nail in, and I wanted that flathead nail showing through. Even though there's going to be games in front of it, I wanted that there because just that kind of attention to detail is what makes everything special, and that's what you want. This is a game room. This is a room that I want to walk in and be super proud of, and I wasn't going to cut any corners at all. So as you can see, I went on and I did this for every single shelf for the game room. That's every wall. That's the shelves I put in the closet. Every single shelf had one of these strips across the back. So they were all going to be exactly the same. The only difference was going to be the length of each shelf and where it was in the room. Now, as you come in the door in this game room, there's going to be some shelves right on that wall. And I didn't want to open the door and walk into a sharp corner. So what I decided to do on that wall was create kind of an angled shelf with a smooth sanded slope. That way when you walked in, it wasn't as abrupt. It didn't stick out at you. And this idea I thought was really good, and they came out really nice. I'm really proud of how these shelves came out. And this is me actually working on those shelves. here's some footage I shot as I was actually building the shelves, my thoughts, and what I was doing at that time. So let's check that out. So all those are done now. And I'm into the closet shelves. What I'm doing on a lot of these is, right now I'm softening these edges by taking the sander to it and kind of hitting it at an angle and slowly just bringing it to the top. I want these to be a little softer around the corners and edges than the first ones I did, the big 12-foot shelves. And just kind of a learn as I go kind of thing. I'm also doing this edge. And I'm doing a lot of these, I'm trying to find really interesting markings. So I'll take the lip and I'll put it on the back side of this. So when I stain it, this crazy grain and that knot come out. And I don't know if that's, you know, how like a shelf maker would do it, but I want these to kind of have a like a rustic look. I want them to be real nice and kind of, I want them to look homemade. So I think this one in particular is going to look really good when I stain it and put the polyurethane on it. So better light in here. Now you can see these softened edges a little bit better. Lip is on the back. That's going to stop things from going past it. That's awesome. Went ahead and did these corners as well as the back. No splinters, no sharp edges. It's a really nice, so I would almost call it luxurious piece of wood. Now this is white wood. This is the cheapest stuff you can find. But as long as you get it and it's not all warped and crazy, you can do nice things with it. This is going to stain up really nicely. And I think these grains are going to look really good. Now I could have sanded it deeper and got rid of some of this pitting, but that's just going to be character as far as I'm concerned. So excited to get this done. Across the back, I sanded across the back, so these are nice and flush. And this is one of the closet shelves, one of the 30-inch shelves. So still got a lot to do. Once they're all done, it'll just be down to staining them and putting them up in the room. So as I said in that last clip, staining, that's what was next. And a lot of people think staining is harder than it is. Some people brush it on, some people use a rag, that's how I do it. And really, if you just get it on there evenly, give it a good wipe afterwards. I'll normally wipe it on nice and smooth all the way across the board, and then I'll take a dry towel normally and give it one more wipe so there's not any parts where it's soaking in deeper than others. And with a little bit of practice, staining is something that's not hard to do, and it gives regular plain pine, whitewood, whatever you have, a much better look, a more luxurious look, and it's going to make your project look way better when you're done. The color I chose is called Provincial, which is actually the same color as the floors in my house. So I thought this would be a cool one to work with. It would match, everything would be nice. And I just went and I bought some at Lowe's. It's not too expensive for a can of stain, and a small can goes a really long way. And once the staining was done and everything had dried, I had to polyurethane it. Now I found this stuff, it's just a one coat polyurethane. It dries quickly, it's easy, and for indoor use, it really does the trick. If these shelves were going to be outside or something, I would have used regular polyurethane. I would have put it on, let it dry, sanded it down, then put another coat on. But these shelves didn't really require that. I've used this stuff in the past. I used it for a coffee table I built, for an ottoman tray I built, and it's held up really well indoors, so I thought it'd be great for shelving. Quick and easy also is key here, because I had dozens of shelves that I had to do, and I had to get them up into the room, and this saved me a lot of time. So it was a really good product to use for this. Now, all the shelves in the room are actually the same depth, except for the ones in the closet. I wanted one set of deeper shelves where I could put maybe some game consoles and have them ready in case I ever wanted to switch out on the fly. Because as you'll see for this room, I didn't really have space to add a bunch of game consoles. This is specifically for individual game titles. And I did want a space where I could put a few, that way I'm not running around looking for game consoles when I need them. So once all these shelves were cut to length, sanded down, had the block put across the back, stained, polyurethane, dried, and ready to go up, I started taking them up and putting them on the wall. I had done a few test fits prior to this, so I knew everything was going to fit, but now it was time to put everything up all at once. So once these shelves were up, I was ready to start bringing up some games, test fitting them on the wall in different places, seeing what I wanted where. I had to organize now this whole game room. Where was I going to put all the different consoles? In what order was I going to put them? So I needed to start getting all that ready. But the problem here is it wasn't enough shelving. I needed more. And what do? When your walls are completely covered in shelves, you have one open spot for a TV, but you know you have more games to put in the room. Well, I came up with something. It was completely original. It's a one-of-a-kind design, and it was the perfect solution, and I might even say it's the shining star of my game room. And that's what I'm going to cover in the next video, Building a Game Room 2.0 Video 3. And until then, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys like what I've done here. I hope maybe you got some ideas for your game room. And I'm going to leave you with this and let you see one last time the tour around the room with the shelves, and I hope that holds you over until the next video comes out. I appreciate you watching. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on social media on TikTok and Twitter at L1 Games, and on Instagram at L1Muzz. That's M-U-Z-Z. And for now, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all later.